chapter 5 of Ramayana's Balakanda, the Ashwamedha Yaga. Jai Shri Ram. King Dasharatha spoke to Vashishta and Vamadeva about the words of Sanat Kumara, which had been repeated to him among them during the performance of the Yaga. The king, therefore, accompanied by a large army and by his chief ministers and preceptors, began the journey to Anga, and, after travelling through forests and several countries, arrived at the city where Romapada lived. Hearing about the coming of the great emperor of Kosala, Romapada hurried out of his city and went to the city gates to welcome Dasharatha with great enthusiasm. The two kings greeted each other with great affection, and together they went to the presence of SHRI. The Rishi was glowing like a flame. The king of the Kosala fell at his feet and honored him. Romapada told him about the great friendship which had existed between himself and King Dasharatha. They spent 7 days together happily, and on the 8th day, Dasharatha told his friend, "I have a boon to ask of you, my friend. I want you to allow your daughter and her husband, the great Rishi, to come to my kingdom for a while. This is to help me achieve something for which I have been praying for the last so many years." He then told Romapada about the yaga which he was planning to perform. Dasharatha now approached SHRI and requested him to preside over the function. "So be it," said the Rishi, and went with Dasharatha to Ayodhya. The friends parted after the affectionate farewells. Dasharatha sent a host of messengers in advance, asking them to prepare the city for the arrival of the illustrious guest. When the royal entourage arrived in the city, the streets had been decorated with banners and flags and flower garlands, and the entire city had a festive look. The king took the Rishi and his wife to his Antapura and made them stay in the apartments set apart for them. When he had brought them to his city, the king felt that he had already achieved the goal for which he was striving. The season Vasanta had now made its appearance. The rivers were filled with pure and sweet waters, and the trees were covered with fresh green leaves. Dasharatha approached the honored guest SHRI and requested him to undertake the performance of the yaga. The Rishi said, "Now that the season Vasanta is here, I feel the time is perfect for the beginning of the yaga. You should instruct the ministers and your servants to collect the materials for the yaga, and you can now send the sacrificial horse for its sojourn round the entire Bharatavarsha." The king listened to him with respectful attention, and he instructed Sumantra to take care of all the details. He sent him first to fetch his guru Vashishta, accompanied by Vamadeva, Suyagna and the others. They came, the masters of all the Vedas and all the sacred lore. Honoring them and placing them on their seats, the king spoke in his characteristic humble manner. "You know only too well how much I had been pained at the thought that I have no son to continue the mighty line of the Ikshvakus. I have told you about the prophecy that my sorrow will be at an end if I perform the yajna with the great SHRI to preside over it. I now stand humbly in front of all of you, asking you to grant me permission to commence the yaga and to bless me." Vashishta and the others were pleased with the humility of the king, and knowing what a righteous man he was, they were happy that he was about to perform the yajna which would be the crowning glory of his life. Along with SHRI, they began to make all the preparations for the yajna. And they told the king, We can assure you that the yajna will be performed without any hindrance, and your wishes will certainly be granted. On the northern bank of the Sarayu, the Yagnashala was soon constructed, and the materials necessary for such an elaborate yajna were assembled methodically and very quickly. The seasons passed quickly, and once again Vasanta heralded its approach by the fresh green buds on the branches of the barren trees. The very air seemed to breathe more freely, and there was happiness in the city and in the heart of the king and his queens, since the yajna was due to begin. Dasharatha took the dust of the feet of Vashishta and the others and spoke to his guru. My lord, you have been my preceptor. You have been like a father to me, since you were the one to initiate me into the great Gayatri. It is up to you to make this yajna successful and make me happy. Attended by all the kings of Bharatavarsha, the yajna was performed without a single fault, and the Ashwamedha Yaga was drawing to a close. The king then requested Rishyashringa to help him perform the yaga by name Putrakama, which would grant him the son he desired. The Rishi pondered for a moment and then said, "There is a certain rite which is described in detail in the Atharva Veda. I happen to know all about it, and I will perform it for you." The Putrakama Yajna was begun at an auspicious moment, and the heavenly host assembled in the skies to receive their share of the harvest. Om Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 6 of Ramayana's Balakanda. The Devas in Distress. Jai Shri Ram. While the Ashwamedha Yaga was in progress, the Devas led by Indra went to Brahma, the creator. They said, "My lord, we are sorely distressed and only you can help us." Brahma wanted to know what was troubling them, and they said, "We are unable to bear the valor of Ravana. He has been harassing us no end, and we have reached a point when we can bear it no longer. Your gracious self has granted him boons which have made him powerful, so powerful that we have to behave like his menial slaves. Because he has been favored by you, we have to suffer the many indignities he has been heaping on us. We have to bear the many atrocities he has been committing. But then, my lord, we have reached the limit of endurance. You must devise for us some means of escape from Ravana and his persistent ill treatment of us. He frightens all the three worlds, and he has been wanting to insult me in my Amaravati. Yakshas, Gandharvas, and Rishis are all scared of him and his cruelty. The sun is afraid to glow too brightly lest Ravana should punish him. The sun is afraid to glow too brightly lest Ravana should punish him. Vayu does not blow too hard, since he is in great fear of the Asura king. When his eyes rest on it, even the sea with its ever-rolling waves comes to a standstill. You have granted him such a powerful boon that he cannot be killed by any of us. It is up to you to think of some method by which his destruction can be brought about." Brahma listened to them and said, "You are right. I have granted him immunity from the hands of Devas, Dhanavas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, and so you are all helpless." In his arrogance, however, Ravana did not deem it worthy of himself to ask immunity from the hands of a mere man, and that is how he will be killed, by a man. When they were talking thus, there came to their presence Narayana, the Lord of Lords, Narayana with the Shankha and Chakra. He was borne by Garuda and seated on Garuda with his golden silk glowing softly. Narayana looked like the sun surmounting a cloud. Brahma and the Devas were overwhelmed by the coming of Lord Narayana, and they worshipped him with folded palms. They said, "Please protect us from suffering. Protect the world from evil. We look to you for succor. We do not have to tell you what is worrying us, since you have come to us with the sole purpose of helping us and the entire universe. You will be born as a man we gather to destroy Ravana." Narayana stood smiling and looked at them as though he were asking them to continue. Brahma said, "My lord, the good king Dasharatha of the Surya Vamsha is performing the yaga by name Putrakama, and it is being presided over by the sage Rishyashringa. Dasharatha has 3 wives. If I may make a humble suggestion, please make us happy by being born as the son of Dasharatha. It has been professed that he will be the father of 4 sons, and all the 4 sons will be the amshas of you. Your avatara is essential for the good of mankind and for the good of the heavens. You, and only you, my lord, will be able to vanquish Ravana. He is too powerful for anyone else." Narayana listened to the words of Brahma and said, "Have no fear. I have made up my mind to be born in the world of men. I will destroy this tyrant Ravana with his entire clan, and I have but this one purpose to fulfill when I descend into the world. After killing him, I will rule the world for 11,000 years before coming back to my abode." Narayana had thought over this problem of the avatara he had to undertake to save the world from Ravana. He had been wondering as to who was worthy enough to be his father, and he knew that Dasharatha, the ever-righteous, who was performing the Putrakama Yaga, would be his father. He told the Devas and Brahma about his decision, and they were overjoyed. A few more years and their sorrow would be at an end. They prostrated before him and praised him and his glory in words full of adoration. Narayana said, "To assist me in my mission, you should all be born in the world of men too. Ravana has forgotten to ask for immunity from monkeys and bears also. I would, therefore, like you all to be born as monkeys and help me when the time comes." Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Ram Arpanamastu. Chapter 7 of Ramayana's Balakanda, the birth of Rama. Jai Shri Ram. The Putrakama Yaga was almost drawing to a close. Everyone was watching, and all on a sudden the fire seemed to be burned with an unearthly glow. Out of the fire rose a divine form. He was dark and he was clad in crimson silk. His hair was tawny, golden, like the mane of the lion. He was wearing ornaments made of gold and set with precious stones. He was like the sun in radiance, and his arms were decked with bracelets of gold. A Chandrahara adorned his immense chest, and his smile was as soft and charming as the radiance of the moon. The entire Yagnashala was illuminated by his presence. The king looked at him and stood with his palms folded. He saw that the divine being held in his hands a golden bowl with a silver covering. The celestial form spoke to the king in the midst of everyone. He said, "I am the messenger from the Creator, Brahma. I have been commanded by the gods to hand you this vessel filled with payasa. Give it to your queens, and they will bear you the sons for whom you have been aching since so many years." The king prostrated before the divine being and accepted the bowl of payasa with great reverence. When he had taken it in his hands, the divine being blessed him and vanished from his presence. The yaga had come to a glorious conclusion, and the rishis blessed the king and asked him to go into the inner chambers and distribute the payasa to the queens. The king went to Kausalya, the eldest of the queens, and told her, "Look, my queen, the gods have answered our prayers, and a son is to be born to you." And so saying, he gave half the payasa to her and asked her to partake of it. He then gave half of what was left to Sumitra and half what was left to Kaikeyi, the youngest queen. Seeing that there was still some left, he gave this again to Sumitra, and there was a great joy in the hearts of the queens and that of the king. The Devas, after receiving their shares of the Havis, went back to their abodes. The yaga had been completed, and the citizens followed the king and the rishis into the city of Ayodhya. The kings who had attended the yaga went back to their kingdoms after having been honored by the king. Rishis from different parts of the world returned to their ashramas after taking part in the two yagas. Sage Rishyashringa, accompanied by his wife Shanta, went back to the kingdom of Anga. The king Dasharatha was happy in the anticipation of the births of the children. He felt that he was a god and not a human being. So great was his happiness. The month of Chaitra was once again heralding its approach. Vasanta made its appearance, felt by the pleasant breeze which was wafted across the ponds filled with lotuses and by the trees which were clad in soft fresh green. The month was Chaitra. It was the fortnight when the moon was waxing Suklapaksha, and it was the 9th day after the new moon. 5 planets were in very auspicious positions. The Lagna was Karkataka, and the planet Guru was rising with the moon. The star was Punarvasu. The Lord of Lords had assumed the form of a human being for the good of mankind and was born as the son of Kausalya. Kausalya glowed with radiance like Aditi did when Indra was born to her. When the next star Pushya appeared, under the Meena Lagna was born a son to Kaikeyi. The gentle Sumitra gave birth to twins when the next star appeared, the star Ashlesha. The 4 sons of King Dhritarashtra were all the Amshas of Narayana, and Kausalya's son was Narayana himself. There was joy and nothing but joy in the hearts of all the people in Ayodhya. The great king Dasharatha, who had been childless, was now the father of 4 sons, and great were the rejoicings in the country of Kosala. When the children were born, divine instruments made music in the heavens, and the Gandharvas sang and danced out of happiness. They danced and they sang because soon, very soon, their woes would be at an end, since Ravana would be killed. Flowers rained on the divine children. The city of Ayodhya was dressed in her best. All the people were thronging to the palace gates. Music and dancing and various expressions of joy were to be found wherever people gathered. It was like Indra's festival for them, and the streets were filled with men and women and children dressed in their finery. The king gave away gold and gifts of cows to Brahmins and others. 11 days passed after the sons were born to the king. It was the day when the children should be named. The preceptor Vashishta named Kausalya's son as Rama. The son of Kaikeyi was named Bharata, and Sumitra's 2 sons were named Lakshmana and Shatrughna. After the ceremony had been completed, the king performed the Jatakarma and other rites associated with a newborn child. The children grew up like the moon during Shukla Paksha. Ever since they were born, ever since they were children, Lakshmana, who was very beautiful and gentle, became greatly attached to Rama. Rama too was extremely fond of Lakshmana. It seemed as though Lakshmana was Rama himself, as though his very life had taken up a form and was moving about with the name Lakshmana. Rama would not go to sleep unless Lakshmana was placed by his side and fed with the same milk and rice. And later, when they grew up, whenever Rama went out to hunt, Lakshmana had to be by his side with his bow and arrows. Even as Lakshmana was dear to Rama, Shatrughna, his twin, became the alter ego of Bharata. King Dasharatha was in the seventh heaven of happiness, surrounded as he was by his 4 sons, who were all handsome, strong, powerful, righteous, respectful to their father and mothers and their guru, their Kula Guru, who taught them the sacred lore, sage Vashishta. They were heroes, all 4 of them, and their learning was great, taught as they were by the great Vashishta himself. They were well versed in the art of fighting like all Kshatriya princes, and they were very humble and very soft spoken. They were proficient in riding on the elephant, on the horse, and in driving a chariot. They were all 4 of them good archers, and they were very fond of their father. Of the 4, Rama was the favorite of his father. He was as sweet, beautiful, and gentle as the full moon, and his father was inordinately fond of Rama. And Rama was ever engaged in pleasing his father in every way. The princes were like lions among men, and the king was extremely proud of his sons. They were now nearing the age of 16, and Dasharatha was the happiest man on the earth, surrounded as he was by these 4 sons. Jai Shri Ram. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. Shri Ramarpanamastu. Chapter 8 of Ramayana's Balakanda. Vishwamitra comes to Dasharatha. Om Shri Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pate Namah. The sons of the king were now grown up. They were nearing 16 and entering manhood. As was the custom, 16 was the age when a young man was to be married, and accordingly the king thought of it. The king, Dasharatha, was wondering as to who the bride of Rama should be. Since Rama was the favorite son, the king could think only of Rama, and his mind was ever thinking of the many ways and means of pleasing Rama. Rama, on his part, thought of nothing else but making his father happy in every way. The kingship between them was so great that everyone in the palace or even Ayodhya knew about it. One day, in the council hall, the king spoke to his ministers about the subject uppermost in his mind, the marriage of Rama and his brothers. Even as he was thinking thus, there arrived at the doorsteps of the king the sage Vishwamitra. He accosted the doorkeepers and said, "Go and announce to the king about my arrival. I am Kaushika, the son of Gadi. People call me Vishwamitra." The name was so well known that even the doorkeepers knew about him. They were greatly excited and with hurried steps went to the presence of the king. Entering the council hall, they rushed to the king and told him about the arrival of Vishwamitra. The king was greatly pleased that such an illustrious rishi should have come to see him. He got up from the throne and, accompanied by his preceptors, he went to receive the rishi. Padya in hand, Dasharatha stood before the guest and washed his feet. He then offered arghya and other prescribed objects used for worshipping such guests. Accepting the welcome of the king with grace and with a smile, Vishwamitra entered the palace of the king. He made the conventional inquiries about the kingdom, about the subjects, about the welfare of the people, and in return, Dasharatha spoke about the ashrama of the rishi, his tapas, and the welfare of the inmates of the ashrama. When the formalities were over, Vishwamitra paid his respects to Vashishta and the others. He accepted the seat offered to him. The king then spoke to Vishwamitra. He said, "Your coming is like a godsend to me, like the divine nectar to a human being, like rainwater to one who is thirsty, like the birth of a son to a man and his good wife, like the finding of a treasure to one who has lost his entire wealth. I am indeed thrilled at the coming of a great personage like your gracious self. Can it be possible that I will be granted the privilege of doing something for you?" Beautiful narration. Can it be possible that I will be granted the privilege of doing something for you? Something to please you? That a Brahmarshi like you should have come to me on your own means some great good fortune to me. With the grace of the Lord above and with the blessings of men like you, I am in a position to offer the entire earth to you if you are so inclined. Please let me know if I can do anything for you. The Rishi was pleased with the devotion, affection, and humility of Dasharatha. He said, "I am not surprised at your words. Born as you are in the line of the Ikshvakus and having the great Vashishta as your guru, it is but natural for you to speak such words. Only men like you will carry out what they have promised. I have, indeed, come to ask a favor of you. I will give you the background. I have taken the Diksha for a yaga. It has to be completed, but I am not able to do so. Two Rakshasas who are able to assume what shape they will are proving to be a hindrance to my yaga. They are extremely skillful in fighting the Maya type of warfare, fighting without being seen, and they rain blood and flesh and on such unclean objects into the Yagnashala and on the platform itself where I perform the yaga. All my endeavors to perform the yaga have gone waste and I have come away from the spot without finishing the yaga. The yaga itself is of such a nature that there is no place for anger in my mind during the performance of it. I am not able to curse them and I have to hold back my anger. I have come to you for help so that I can complete the yaga." "Tell me, my lord," said Dasharatha. He was greatly excited. He had fought on the side of Indra, and when there was war in the high heavens between the Devas and the Asuras, and the king from the earth had been able to assist Indra during the war. That was when he was granted the boon that he would be able to drive his chariot in all the 10 directions. Dasharatha, the king, was eager to hear more. "Tell me how I can help you," asked the king. "I want you to give me Rama, your eldest son. Rama, that charming youngster who is a great warrior," said Vishwamitra. Before the king could put in a word, he said, "I will protect him. You need have no fear of that. This young man is sure to destroy those Rakshasas. I am certain of that. Have no doubt that this will mean nothing but great good fortune for your son. He will be famed in the 3 worlds for this act of valor, and I predict nothing but good for your son to follow in the wake of this act. The 2 Rakshasas will not be able to withstand Rama's powerful arrows. And again, Rama and only Rama is capable of destroying them. They are eaten up with pride and they have come to the end of their lives. Dasharatha, do not let your fatherly affection make you hesitate in granting me my boon. The yaga is for 10 days and only 10 days. The evil ones are destined to be killed by Rama, and you can rest assured that they are dead already. I know Rama. I know his true nature. I know him and his unswerving devotion to truth. These great rishis, led by Vashishta, also know the truth about him. If you desire fame in this world and a great future in the next, you must give Rama to me for these 10 days. If you do but look at your ministers, you can see that they are wanting you to grant me my wish." Dasharatha thought of the youth of his beloved son Rama and to his mind came the dreadful forms of the Rakshasas, who could assume what form they choose and who were Mayavis. He fell down senseless, and for a while, for the duration of a muhurta, he was like that. He regained consciousness and then said, "My Lord, please be merciful. My Rama, my child, with the eyes like the lotus, is hardly 16 years old. I am not able to imagine him fighting with Rakshasas you speak of. I am an old veteran in the art of fighting. My entire army is at your service, my lord. I will accompany you, and with my army to assist me, I will fight with the Rakshasas. I have fought before in the war with the Dhanavas when the Devas were harassed by them, and I am sure I can vanquish these two troublemakers. They are able to use astras, and I will be able to give them good fight. I will protect your yaga and help you bring it to a successful conclusion. Please do not ask Rama to face the Rakshasas. His education is hardly over, and he is not strong enough to know how fierce the proposed fight will be. As for me, even if an hour passes without seeing my beloved child, my eyes become blurred with tears, and I feel as though my very life is ebbing away from me. Please do not ask me to send my Rama with you. If you insist on Rama coming with you, then let me also come along with my army. Rama is my very life. After so many years of childlessness, he has been granted to me, and he is very dear to me. I have 4 sons, but Rama is most dear to me, as is well known the world over. Tell me about the Rakshasas. Who are they? How did they acquire so much power? Who protects them? Where do they come from?" Vishwamitra said, "In the line of the famed Pulatsya is born a Rakshasa by name Ravana. He is a very powerful warrior and a brave fighter. He has pleased Brahma with his penance and has obtained boons from the Creator. He is now bent on persecuting rishis and all good people. He has defeated Kubera, his half-brother, in battle, and has snatched from him the Pushpaka, a chariot which can fly in the air. Ravana is the son of Vishravas, and he is famed in all the 3 worlds. These 2 Rakshasas, Maricha and Subhahu, are his henchmen. They are bent on doing harm to people like me, who are bent on tapas and actions which spell good for the world. Rama has to rid the world of them." The king's expression was piteous when he heard about the Rakshasas. He said, "Unfortunate man that I am in danger of losing my beloved son. My lord, how can I assume that this youngster will be able to stand in front of such powerful Rakshasas and fight with them? I have been told that the Devas and the Gandharvas and all the denizens of the heavens are not able to stand up to Ravana. How then can this child of mine, my Rama, who is not yet 16, how can he fight with the henchmen of Ravana? I have heard it said that the valor of those who fight with him is absorbed into him, and his opponents lose all their prowess. Rama is the scion of my race. I dare not give him to you. I will not give him to you. Subahu and Maricha are not the proper adversaries he should encounter in his first taste of fighting. I will fight, my lord, but please do not ask me to give my child." Vishwamitra's patience was at an end. Like a sacrificial fire which burns brighter when ghee is poured into it, the words of the king made him more and more angry, and finally his anger knew no bounds. He looked at the king with his eyes glowing and said, "You made elaborate promises, and now you are trying to go back on your word. This does not bring credit to the illustrious Raghuvamsha of which you are a descendant. If you think you are doing the right thing, I will go back to where I came from. Having broken your promise to your guest, you can live happily with your kinsmen surrounding you." When he spoke thus, the earth trembled in fear, since his anger was known to all. Still, the king sat silent. Blinded as he was by his love for his son, he did not realize what he was doing. Vashishta, his mentor, now spoke to him. He said, Dasharatha, you are born of the line of the Ikshvakus. You are expected to be a personification of Dharma himself. You are a righteous man and are well versed in the rules of conduct. You should not behave thus and stay away from the path of Dharma. The world calls you Dharmatma, and you should not besmirch the name of your ancestors and yours too by this action of yours. Once you say that you will do a thing and then hesitate to do so, it is an act unworthy of good men, and it will rob you of all the punya you have accumulated so far. Send Rama with the Rishi and save your name and that of your family. This illustrious son of Kushika will guard Rama like the wheel of fire does the pot filled with Amrita. No Rakshasa can approach this son of yours, however mighty he may be. I am sure of that. Vishwamitra is the very image of Dharma, and he is a great man. He is a man of great intellect, and his tapas is his wealth. He is proficient in all the Shastras and the sacred lore. No one in all the three worlds can gauge the greatness of Vishwamitra. He knows the past, the present, and the future. Please send your son with him without any qualms. Do you think it is hard for this great man to kill those two Rakshasas who are wisps of straw in his presence? He can do it. But he wants your son to achieve greatness, and that is the reason why he is honoring you by asking you for Rama. Please realize the honor which has been granted to you and wake up from this delusion called Putra Sneha. When Vashishta spoke thus, Dasharatha was convinced and woke up from his mental stupor. He fell at Vishwamitra's feet and craved his pardon. He then said, in my blind love for my child, I spoke hastily. Please forgive me and accept my son. I am sending him with you, and I am happy to do so. Rama is never alone, and Lakshmana will always be with him. Please take both of them. The words of Vashishta had convinced the king that the prince was taken by Vishwamitra for the good of the youngster, and his words of apology to the rishi were sincere. He sent for Rama and Lakshmana. Kaushalya had heard about the decision of the king to send the children with the rishi, and even as the word reached her that the king wanted them, she had prepared them for the journey. Taking leave of their mothers, the handsome young men came and stood before their father. They saluted all the rishis in the great hall, and then they prostrated before their father. They were so handsome that Vishwamitra could not take his eyes off their faces. Rama was dark like a blue lotus, and Lakshmana was fair. Rama was dark like a blue lotus, and Lakshmana was fair. Both had long, liquid eyes, and their smiles were bewitching. They stood with folded palms in front of their father. Dasharatha said, my dear Rama, Lakshmana, the great sage Vishwamitra has come to me with the sole purpose of taking you with him. Go with him and obey his commands in every way as you would mine. The children spoke not a word, but went and stood by the side of the rishi after saluting their father and the others in the hall. The wind blew softly and gently, and all the women were good when they left the palace. All those in the hall went up to the doorway to bid adieu to them, and they were amazed to see the rain of flowers from the heavens and the distant music of heavenly drums. Vashishta looked at the king as if to say, I told you that it is for the good of your sons that the great Vishwamitra came to you, asking you to lend them to him. Jai Shri Ram. Om Shri Ramar Paramast.